Greetings to the 12 tribes, scattered according to Bible prophecy into the four corners of the earth. Greetings to the 144,000 who are among them, being prepared to give a final warning message to Yah's chosen ones, still in Babylon. Greetings to the Gentiles who have received the Hebrew Messiah, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, and have been grafted into the Hebrew stock with all the promises, also now theirs. Greetings. Greetings to the chat, Brother Mark, Shalom, and whoever else is there that I don't see because the screen is scrolling slow. Greetings to all of you. Only one way, greeting to you also. And superstar greetings, as I see now. The screen is delayed a little bit from my side. Greetings to you, brothers. Wednesday night, we reserve for current events, and tonight is no different. But before we get started, I want to ask you, brothers and sisters, for prayers. Brother Frankie, if you see his wife here, Isha Shama, and his brother Shama, his brother Frankie, I've known them for more than 20 years, I think. He has cancer and he's undergoing chemotherapy, and Brother weighs 115 pounds. And so his wife, Sister Isha Shama, she's dependent on him. And so if you would please remember Brother Frankie in your prayers as he's beginning his chemotherapy this week, and he is scared. And so we need to pray for our brother that he would be strengthened. Both of these are baptized brothers and sisters into Messiah YHWH. So please remember Brother Frankie and his wife in your prayers. Also on October 17th in Venezuela, there was a mudslide there. And, you know, mudslide sounds, I don't know how it sounds, but I saw the video of the mudslide. And I have never seen mudslide. I've never been in a mudslide myself, thank the Most High, but I've seen videos of them, but I've never seen anything on this scale and magnitude. The power and force with which the mud came through and destroyed towns and cities in this area, particular area of Venezuela. And when the mud stopped flowing, the giant boulders that it left behind that had brought down from the mountains, pray for those families in Venezuela that were victims of this tremendous mudslide, which is another sign of the last days and another sign of where we are in its history. Please pray for them as well. So that would be Brother Frankie, who's undergoing chemotherapy treatment this week, and the people in Venezuela who suffered from that tremendous mudslide. And of course, we know you're going to see a lot more of these things as we are getting closer and closer to the end, which brings me to tonight's talk. If you notice on the thumbnail, there's a Caucasian woman on the thumbnail. Her name is Katie Halper. She's an Ashkenazi woman, and she was rising fast. As you notice, we know that a lot of the media personalities, the ones that control the media, are Ashkenazi, much as people try to deny that and call it anti-Semitic. And speaking of that, I don't want to waste too much time on Kanye West. I mean, I know a lot of people are talking about it, but a couple of brothers mentioned Kanye West's statements. And if you didn't hear about it, he was talking about how Black people are the true Jews, and he was going to go DEFCON 3 on Jews and blah, 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 blah. Basically, what that is, brethren, is a setup. And what I mean by that, and a couple of the brothers, the Hebrew teachers, I heard them say it also. Basically, he's trying to shine light on us for negative purposes. That's what he's doing. He was trying to make us a target, yes. And the scripture that came to my mind was what the Apostle Paul said. He said, you can do nothing against the truth, only for the truth. And also what Gil Scott-Heron said when he said that the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. And so So it's not even worth talking about too much time on that. But I want to talk about this Katie Halper because most of y'all never heard of her. And yet, what happened to her is a sign, a very strong sign. And it points to Daniel chapter 11 and 12. And so again, let's turn there. But I want y'all, when you get a chance, please study the book of Daniel. And we did a series, and I'll put the link to the playlist for the Daniel series in the description box. And I'm also going to put a couple of videos regarding this Katie Halper and what happened to her. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. But Katie Halper was in the media. She was a rising star in the media. And like I said, like many of her cousins, until she started speaking the truth. You see, a lot of media, well, let's put it this way. There's certain things we know that we don't have to go too far into. For example, I think as Hebrews that are following the Hebrew Messiah, the line of the tribe of Judah, and our father Yah, the Black Hebrew Messiah, I think we understand that whenever media is communicating with us, whether it's television or radio or movies, 100% of the time, they're lying to us. Did you hear what I said? I think we understand it. 100% of the time, they're lying to us. And if someone dares to speak truth, they will not be on that media much longer. Okay? See? So when you see them still there, you know they were being, we're being played because they're always lying. Which is why the movement of the awakening is not really being noticed by the media. Just like it was interesting to note when you look at a story, a history of Malcolm X, and before him, Elijah Muhammad in the United States, that there was a Black reporter that couldn't get a job in white media, but he was able to work at CBS because of an Ashkenazi man named Mike Wallace, whose son, Chris Wallace, is who you used to see on Fox News. That's Mike Wallace's son. Mike Wallace was an Ashkenazi, and he was at CBS. And shalom to the chat, shalom to all of you. And he was at CBS, and there was a Black man that had gotten his education but couldn't get a job until he offered to open up CBS to a new movement that they didn't know nothing about. And Mike Wallace said that this man had went to Washington, D.C., and there was a big rally among the Nation of Islam. And when he did video, he had a camera crew with him, and they let him in because he was Black. And he said this is the first time in his life that being Black actually worked in his favor since he was born. And he brought the videos that he had taken, the movies he had taken, to Mike Wallace. And Mike Wallace said, we had no idea. And they were scared. Mike Wallace was scared, and the whole nation was scared when Mike Wallace put it out. And why were they scared? Well, of course, the first thing they always say is, are they violent? Are they going to hurt us? Are they violent? And it's amazing. But again, this is something we're all used to now. We're not really, this is no surprise to us that the most violent people that ever existed on the history of planet Earth are concerned with anybody else being violent. But that's how it was. So they were very concerned with this movement that they didn't even know was taking place. And my point in bringing that up is the true movement of the awakening of the Hebrews is broader and deeper than they know. Now, they got their agents watching us, but it's broader and deeper than even they understand. Okay. And when we come together and when we're starting, when the message of this truth starts to get louder because more of us are awakening, the first thing they're going to say is, are they violent? You know that, right? And then they're going to start mischaracterizing it, as a violent, anti-government, so on and so forth, stuff that's been done before, okay? But the difference now is that the Most High Yahweh and his son, Mashiach Yahweh Shai, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, is in this. Therefore, And it's been prophesied, as we're going to see. Therefore, it cannot be stopped. It cannot be stopped. It cannot be thwarted. It's going to end up with the kingdom returning to Messiah. Okay? So in Daniel chapter 11, and again, I would admonish you, I'm going to put the link to Daniel's series in the description box, but I would admonish you to look at this and study Daniel for yourself. Now, I'm not going to go into all the detail. I'm going to try to cut to the chase for y'all. And you know, I try to give you all the scriptures that I can. But in Daniel chapter 11, to make a long story short, literally, there was the Greek Empire under Alexander, so-called Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great died at the age of 32. He had 4 main generals that were his most powerful and trusted generals in his army. Let me see if I can remember their names. Lysimachus, Cassandra, Ptolemy, Lysimachus, and Seleucus. Seleucus, Lysimachus, Cassandra, Ptolemy. Now, after his death, they killed all his children, and they divided up the world, the then known world that was the Greek Empire, into 4 divisions. So they had north, south, east, and west, these 4 generals. Now, Ptolemy was in the south, based out of what had become Alexandria, Egypt. And Seleucus was in the north, based out of what was Babylon. Okay? And there were skirmishes between the 4 of them until there were 2 powers left, the north and the south. Eventually, Daniel explains this. Daniel 11 goes into detail about this. But eventually, it was just the king of the north and the king of the south. And then it both transformed. As you know, when we studied Daniel, we know that out of the Roman Empire, which is the 4th of, in fact, let's look at Daniel chapter 7. We know that the 4th beast was the Roman Empire of Daniel 7. There were 4 beasts: Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, and Rome. And out of the 4th one, there was a transformation from a military and political power to a military, political, and mostly religious power. And so let's take a look at that in Daniel chapter 7. And we'll start with the 4th beast. So I'm just giving you a synopsis. Again, I'm going to put the description box. I'm going to put I didn't do it not yet, but I'm going to put the link in there for the Daniel series. Please study Daniel for yourself. You'll be finding yourself a lot in Revelation among other prophets, but mostly Revelation with Daniel, since they're very closely related. But let's look at Daniel chapter 7. I'm going to begin at verse 7, and I'm going to read from verse 7 and verse 8 of Daniel chapter 7. After this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. So the 4th is the Roman Empire. And notice it said break in pieces, crush and bruise, which is the type of kingdom and empire that we now live in. Whereas the majority got their power by breaking in pieces and crushing and bruising. Okay, everything that's the majority and that's in power in today's society of modern Babylon got that by doing exactly what that Bible just described that 4th beast doing. Now, with the little horn, let's skip down to verse 19 of Daniel chapter 7. Then I would know the truth of the 4th beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. Now, in the Bible, when it talks about the saints, here's a test question, here's a quiz. When it talks about the saints and the servants of Yah, who are we talking about? In the Bible, when the Bible mentions the saints and the servants of Yah, who are we talking about? Who is the Bible talking about? It's talking about Israel. It's talking about Hebrew Israelites and those who were grafted into the olive tree of the Hebrew Israelites. That's who it's talking about. Okay, those are the servants of Yah in the Bible. So it says that this little horn made war with the saints. And so you're dealing with Rome and Christianity making war with the Hebrews, those people who were in chains. In fact, the very chains themselves that they were in shows you the magnitude of the war we were dealing with and are dealing with. You understand? Okay, so let's continue. Let's skip down. Actually, let's not skip down. Let's read through. So from we went to verse 21. Let's go from verse 22, from verse 22 down to verse 25. Until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Number one, the kingdom that was given to the Son of Man in this very chapter from the Ancient of Days, that's the kingdom of the saints. And that kingdom is that book that was given in Revelation chapter 5. Same thing. Okay. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings, and he shall speak great words. This is the third time it's saying that, but what are those great words? And he shall speak great words against the Most High. So the great words that he spoke were against the Most High. And shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. Now, that's Roman Empire turning into the Roman Catholic Church. In Daniel 11, you're left with 2 kingdoms. The Roman Empire that turned into the Roman Catholic Church, that's the king of the north, because Rome is in the north from the children of Japhet. And then you had the king of the south. If you recall, when we studied Revelation and we studied the 7 trumpets, there was a power that came at the Roman Catholic Church. Y'all remember? We studied in Revelation chapter 9, and they had a ruler over them that was called the Destroyer, and it was Abaddon and Apollyon. Remember that? And remember who? No, they came at Rome. They came at Rome, and they started in 313 AD. Remember that? And they went all the way to 1843. Remember that? And there was a power that came at Rome. You know, the king. That's right. It was Islam. It was Islam. Remember that? And it was the Ottoman Empire. Remember that? It was the Ottoman Empire, the development of the Ottoman Empire. They came and they took what was Constantinople out of Constantine, and they changed it to what it is today, Istanbul in Turkey, right? That's what they did. And so the king of the south in Daniel 11 is represented as Islam. Okay? Now, let's go to Daniel 11. Let's go to Daniel 11. Akawan Banya. All right, my brother. Learn that stuff that you got to learn, my brother. Learn that stuff. Okay. Daniel chapter 11. So now, Daniel 11, I'm going to skip down because I told you the background of the 4 generals. I told you the king of the north is the Catholic Church and the king of the south is Islam. Okay. So now it's going to talk about the king of the north. I'm going to begin at verse 36. So the king that is talking about, the focus here is the Catholic Church. And then when it mentions the king of the south, we're talking about what? Islam. Okay. So let's continue. Daniel chapter 11 from verse 36. Okay. From verse 36. And the king shall do according to his will And he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor any God, for he shall magnify himself above all. That's the office of the Pope. Okay? But in his estate he shall honor the God of forces, a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver and precious stones and pleasant things. Now let me ask you all, here's another trick question. Are you ready? We talked about this. What is the God, aside from the devil himself, that they honor with gold and precious stones and pearls? What is the God that all Christianity honors? It is the church. It is the institution of the church. The church. In fact, the Pope calls it, they all call it, right? They don't say it is the Catholic Church. What do they say? They just say the church. Like the church. Is that correct? The church. And as a matter of fact, all of the daughters of Rome, all of those whores, the Adventist one, the Jehovah's Witness one, the Mormon one, they all use that terminology. Are you going to leave the church? That's who they honor, in my line, with gold and precious stones and pearls. Do not they collect all of that money for the church? That's the God that his fathers knew not. Because never in history has there been an institution like today's Christian church establishment. Never in history. It's been set up. Now, prior, when you read the Bible, you see all of these different nations had their different gods. The Moabites had theirs, right? The Ammonites had theirs. The Edomites had theirs. They all had their different gods. But now they all say they worship one God, right? And it's a 501c3 corporate institutions. Is that correct on my line? They're corporate institutions. They're nonprofit businesses is what they are. That is the God that their fathers knew not. The Philistines never dreamed of such a thing. A corporate institution that is honored with money. Aren't they always say you should give to the church? Isn't that correct? That you should give to the church. Huh? That's the God that their fathers knew not. Okay, let's go down. Let's go to verse 39. Watch verse 39. Watch verse 39 and remember Christianity and remember how you got here. Okay? 1139. We're talking about Katie Halper today. I'm going to tie it all in. Don't worry. Okay? Thus shall he do in the most stronghold with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory. And he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. Now, let's talk about this. There was a group of people that were Dutch, and they went to the southern tip of the continent of Africa and took it over, stole its diamonds, made giant billions of dollars from the gold they took. Then there was a group of people that went to a land and they called it Australia. And they killed the natives and they took it over. Then there was a group of people that went to a land that they discovered called America. They killed the people that were there and took it over. Then there was a group of people and they went island hopping. And every island they discovered. And they killed the people that were there and they took it over. Now, let me just review what I just said. There were a group of people that went to South Africa, Australia, the Americas, the islands. Here's the question. What did they all have in common? What religion were they? That's right, they were all Yafet's children. And what was their religion? Did they share a religion? Did they share religion? They were all Christians. With that in mind, so let's review that. They went to South Africa and took it over. They went to all African continents, but South Africa is the most prominent one. Took it over. They went to the Americas, took them over. And they went to Australia, took it over. And every place that they went to take over, there were already people there. But they killed most of them, enslaved the ones that was left, and took the assets. Am I lying? Or is that true? Is that true? So when they came from Dutch land and they went down to South Africa, they call themselves Afrikaners, and they dominate the land. They went to the Americas and they call themselves Americans, and they're worried about the borders. And they went to all of the islands, island hopping, took them over, and they use them now for their vacations. And the same thing with the Central America. They grow drugs there, and they put puppet governments up, cause the people to run from their own countries, and then they're worried about coming up here for the borders after they then took it over and put drugs in it. Let's read verse 39 again. With this in mind, let's read Daniel 11:39 again. Are you ready? Let's read it again. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with the strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. Do you see it now? Do you see it? It's the institution of Christianity led by Rome that did everything I just told you. Everything. And you got people talking about the southern border, the northern border. It's really amazing, isn't it? After they came and slaughtered the original people that were here, took the place over, enslaved the Hebrew people, and now claim they want to protect the southern border. That's amazing, isn't it? And yet everything I just told you, by the grace of the Most High, is true. Everything. Let's continue. Verse 40. And at the time of the end, shall the king of the south, Islam, push at him, Ottoman Empire, against the Catholic Church. And the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots, with horsemen, with many ships, and shall enter into the countries, and shall overthrow and pass over. Let me ask you a question. What has happened to the Ottoman Empire? Does it even exist anymore? Does the Ottoman Empire exist? Does the Ottoman Empire exist? Is there still a Vatican in Rome? Yes, there is. Yes, there is. And no, the Ottoman Empire doesn't exist anymore. And what has happened over the last, let's say from 1990 with Daddy Bush to now? How many bombs and wars and sorties have been dropped in Muslim countries? You think that's accidental? Yes, they were after the oil, but they were also spanking the Muslims, spanking them into submission. Okay, there you go. Overflow and pass over. Never forget, brethren, the Roman Catholic Church doesn't have its army itself in the Vatican like an army that it can sick on people, but it controls the armies of other nations. Never forget that. So that the army of the United States is being controlled from the office of the Pope and from the Black Pope, the Jesuit general. Okay, so they control other people's armies. They control the money. They work through the Ashkenazis to control the banking system. Okay, talking about Katie Halper today. Let's keep going. Daniel chapter 11. Verse 41 is where we start with Katie Halper. Okay, verse 41. Daniel 11:41. Let's read. He, that is the king of the north, shall enter also into the glorious land. When the Bible speaks of the glorious land, it's talking about Israel. Let me prove that to you. Let's look at brother Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 20. The glorious land is Israel, okay? Ezekiel chapter 20. I'm going to read verse 5 and 6 for the sake of time. Ezekiel chapter 20. Are you ready? And say unto them, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, in the day when I chose Israel and lifted up my hand unto the seed of the house of Jacob and made myself known unto them in the land of Egypt, when I lifted up my hand unto them, saying, I am Yahweh your Most High, in the day when I lifted up my hand unto them to bring them forth of the land of Egypt into a land that I had espied for them, flowing with milk and honey, which is what? The glory of all lands. You see what I mean? See, he called, the Most High calls Israel, when in its original state, that is, the glory of all lands. Okay? And the Most High said, he told to tell Moses through them in Deuteronomy, I'm taking you out of Egypt into a land filled with milk and honey, with iron ore and all the goodness and the oil olive, a glorious land. See? So the glorious land is Israel. So let's now, with that understanding, let's go back to Daniel chapter 11, verse 41. Daniel 11, 41. And he shall enter also into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab and chief of the children of Ammon. So let's look at this. Where does Katie Halper have to do with this? Well, it's saying the Pope is going to establish his throne, his flag in the land of Israel. How does he do that? He does it through the Ashkenazis. So what does Katie Halpern have to do with this? Katie Halpern spoke and said this, and I'm paraphrasing. I'm going to put the videos in the description box. But what she said was that the Jews have no purpose there in the Middle East, that they don't belong there, that they're from Europe, that they're taking the Palestinians out of their own land, and that they're acting like South Africa, and that they created, and she said this, and Jimmy Carter said this, apartheid. Desmond Tutu said the same thing, that in Israel, it's an apartheid state, that they're treating the people that are originally from that land the way the Dutch treat the blacks in South Africa. And because she said that, she got blacklisted and fired from her job for speaking the truth. Particularly, this would be a problem for her because she's on the media that's controlled by the people that's fulfilling this prophecy. Now, she doesn't know that. She doesn't know that. But I pray the Most High bless her. And speaking of that, she's an example, this Katie Halper, of somebody that you never heard of that could possibly be in the kingdom. Because the Bible does say that there's some Edomites that are going to come to. Let me just show you. Let me show you. In the next book, actually, let me see here. No, not the next book. It's Amos, I believe. Let's look to Amos. Yes, it's Amos chapter 9. Amos chapter 9. Edom is the Ashkenazi Jews. Okay, we'll go into that another time, but that's represented as modern day Edom. Okay, so now, I mean, not bloodline Edom, but according to the spirit, according to religious purposes, they're Edom. There is a bloodline Edom, but they don't look like that. Okay, but let's take a look at Amos chapter 9. I'm going to start at verse 8 and read down from verse 8 down to verse 12. Amos chapter 9 from verse 8 to verse 12. And excuse me if I'm going a little fast. There's a lot of information here. Like I said, I'm going to give you the link for Daniel's series. You can look at it for yourself. Study the word for yourself. Go to your father, study the Bible. Okay? Behold, the eyes of the Most High Yahweh are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth, saving I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith Yahweh. For lo, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations. like as corn is sifted in a sieve. Yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom and of all the heathen which are called by my name. See that? Saith Yahweh that doeth this. So you see, there are some of every nation and every represented group that's going to come to the truth. It's going to be a remnant. You don't hear nothing about Katie Halper, right? You ain't know who this was. And yet she stood for the truth. She said, those people, and she said, I am an Ashkenaz. She said, I'm a Jew. She said, my family's from Europe. She said, we don't come from that part of the world. She said that. There's no thing as Zionism. She said that. I didn't say that. She said that. And because of that, she was fired, let go, and blackballed. Okay? There's going to be some that come to this truth eventually. The Most High blessed them. There's John Browns out there. Y'all know who John Brown was, right? He was an abolitionist that did an insurrection to try to free Hebrews. And he was hung for that. He was a Caucasian man. And he was hung for what he tried to do. Okay, there's going to be some of them. There's going to be those that stand for this truth. There's going to be a remnant of them, just like there's a remnant of us. Okay, back to Daniel. So it says, these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab and chief of the children of Ammon. There are bloodlines of these people, real bloodlines that were scattered like we were scattered from the land. Okay, Jeremiah talks about it. Isaiah talks about it. Ezekiel talks about it. The prophets speak of how the people around Israel are also scattered like we were and taken over by the people that came from the north. And so they're going to be delivered like us. Now, let's continue. Daniel chapter 11 from verse 42 down to verse 45. Talking about now how the Pope is working with the Ashkenazi Jews to reestablish Jerusalem. And you're going to see peace between the three Abrahamic religions, at least for a little bit. That is Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. And who's going to bring about the peace? The Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is. It's going to not last a long time, but that's how it's going to be set up. Okay, they're already trying to reestablish the temple in Jerusalem. They're already trying to reestablish animal sacrifices. Okay, already. And it's going to tell us about that right now in Daniel chapter 11. Let's read it. Beginning at verse 42 and going down from verse 42 down to verse 45. He shall stretch forth his hand upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. But he shall have power over the treasures of gold and of silver, see, and over all precious things of Egypt, and Libyans and Ethiopians shall be at his steps. You see, where's Egypt? It's in Africa. Where's Libya? It's in Africa. So they're going to have control over the assets of these countries. Do they not do that? Do they not take the assets, the minerals, the diamonds, and everything in the ground and take it? And they do it with corporations, a God that their fathers knew not, that shall divide the land for gain. Okay, let's continue. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Let me explain that. Messiah said, as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. So that the east is representing a message from the 144,000. And the north, the Bible tells us that the Father's throne sits in the sides of the north. So that the two directions, north and east, are representing the message of the 144,000. Okay, about the return of the Messiah, the establishment of the kingdom of Messiah, about the dominance and preeminence of Father Yah, the only true God. And that's coming from the power of the Father's Spirit upon us. So that message troubles the established order, just like Katie Halpern's words troubled the established order, which is why she was kicked out. Which is why Kanye West ain't kicked out of nothing. And that's why we can understand why he's Judas, because Judas always looks like us. Judas was a black man that portrayed the Messiah. Don't forget that. And you can always know. Even they did a movie, Fred Hampton, they called it was something with Judas. Because why? Who betrayed Fred Hampton and got him murdered? A black man. Who betrayed Malcolm X? A black man. Who shot him with the shotgun? A black man. They always use us to portray us. That's always. Okay? Always. So tidings out of the north and out of the east are the message of 144,000, the Elijah message, the message of the two witnesses of Elijah and Moses, the message that's going to awaken, and it is now awakening the children of Israel that are now preparing us for the next few years that's coming. Okay? That's right. Judas and the Black Messiah. That's right, Mark. That's what it was. Yep. Judas and the Black Messiah. See, they use Judas because you know what? They always look like us. He always looked like us. Judas is an Israelite. Don't y'all forget that. Judas is a Hebrew Israelite by blood. Always going to be that way. Okay? Don't be surprised at that. Okay. Let's read that verse again. Daniel 11:44. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. That is, trouble the established order of Babylon and Rome, the king of the north. Therefore shall he go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly make away many. That's what he's going to want to do. Kill us. And he shall plant the tabernacle of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. Now, when you see that, when you see what it's showing you here is how Jerusalem is going to be established again. Except now you're going to have the three Abrahamic religions all in agreement on this point. Okay, three Abrahamic religions going to be all in agreement on this, and the Pope's going to lead the peace. Okay, and what happened? And this is going to happen soon. And what happens when that takes place? Well, let's look at Daniel 12, verse 1, the next verse, and notice what it starts out saying. Daniel 12, verse 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up. At that time, at what time? When you see the glorious holy mountain being established as an Ashkenazi stronghold in conjunction with Islam and Christianity led by the Pope. Why do you think Donald Trump said Jerusalem should be the capital of Israel? Why do you think they're moving all the Palestinians into the ocean with $4+ billion a year from the U.S. government? They don't even have oil there. See? It's all coming together. And when Michael stands up, Michael is Messiah, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. Who is he? Who's speaking? This is Gabriel telling Daniel about our time. This, what you're reading, is Gabriel the angel telling Daniel about our time. And he says, at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth, Daniel, for the children of thy people, Daniel, the children of Israel, Daniel, us. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time, thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. See, we talked about the deliverance of Yah's chosen, about how we will be caught up into the air to meet on the sea of glass at the Father's throne and celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles, and how the 7 last plagues will come on this planet and destroy these heathen that deserve have it coming while we are on the sea of glass. And then they're going to try to regroup and come at us as the Most High brings us back to the land. our land and redoes it for us, and they will be destroyed. The beast, the dragon, and the false prophet, 666. And you'll never hear from Babylon again. It's coming very soon, brethren. Katie Halper was a sign. You see, everyone's looking for signs, and they're happening every day. They're happening all the time. Katie Halper was a sign. She spoke the truth about what's going on in Jerusalem and in Israel, the state of Israel, the Israeli state. And she was blackballed from her own cousins, blackballed and fired. If she keeps that stand, she's going to lose everything, but she's going to be saved in the kingdom. They're going to try to coerce her so that she, you know their favorite word, recants and comes back. We'll see what happens. That's between her and the Most High. But we saw that happen the last 2 weeks. And she was blackballed for speaking the truth about the state of Israel, saying that it shouldn't even exist. It has no right to even exist. That's their own cousins. Brothers and sisters, it's coming, it's happening fast, and we are being prepared. The fact that the Most High is allowing it to happen, that should give us assurance that he's preparing us. He's not going to leave us unprepared. The Father never does that. He would not leave us unprepared to meet this challenge that's coming at us. We're going to be prepared. He is the master preparer. Him and Messiah and the angels. They'll be preparing us, and they're going to continue to prepare us. Please, read your Bible. Read it. Start in Genesis. Go all the way through the Revelation. And when you're finished, do it again. And when you have done it a second time, do it a third time, and a fourth time, and a fifth time, all the way to the day of Messiah. Keep doing it. This is the oracle right here. This is the oracle. This is the oracle. This is the ephod that David needed to look at. This is the one that's going to speak to us and show us the way and guide us through by the Spirit of the Father. This one right here. Okay, read your Bible. Keep reading it. Keep reading it. Victor, that would be your conviction, and I can't dictate to you what your conviction should be, Victor. Victor asked, he said, I got baptized in a Christian church. Should I get baptized again? That's your conviction. I can't dictate to you what your conviction should be. If you feel like you were sincere enough and that baptism was right enough and you're fine, then you're fine. If not, then you could be baptized again. You won't harm you to be baptized again, but that's up to you. That's between you and Father Yah. Don't ever let me come between you and Father Yah. Your Father and you should work that out. Praise the Most High. I pray that the Most High bless you and keep you, and that he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you, and that he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom.